ready, Gus?
Yes.
All right. Hello again. We are back from executive session. We are now at item 6, I believe, if I'm correct. That's actions taken from executive session. It's 6.1, section 551.074A. Number 1, personnel matters to deliberate the appointment, employment, evaluation, reassignment, duties, discipline, or dismissal of a public officer or employee, the city manager. We are in possession of an email that was submitted by Joshua B. Pritchett to Gus Knable, who is our city attorney, and Michaela Holbrook, who is our human resources director. And this is a letter of resignation. Gus, is this letter something that that is subject now to open records?
It's been received by the city.
It's been received by the city, so this can be distributed to media. Okay, and so we're going to see if you want this. Can't have my copy, but you certainly can have a copy.
They can request it.
You can request it. Thank you very much. So what we are going to do, I'm going to entertain a motion to receive or accept the resignation of Mr. Joshua B. Pritchett.
Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I'd like to move that La Marque City Council accept the resignation of Joshua B. Pritchett.
Yes, sir.
As the city manager of this city, effective immediately.
Thank you, sir. Is there a second?
I second.
Very good. Any further discussion on this item?
Yes, sir. I want to claim that the statements made in that are completely false, and there will be a letter sent to Mr. Pritchett from my attorney outside of legal representation here from the city.
Okay, very good. Anyone else? Hearing none, this is the first step in a road to discovery and uncovering how we as a city need to move forward. Part of that process will be evaluating and reevaluating how we vet our candidates. Part of that process will be more of an opportunity for council to have even more of a hands-on verification process, and we look forward to that day. But that day is not today. Today is a sad day for our city because we most certainly want the best for our residents, and today that did not happen. Any further comments? Hearing none, we'll call for a vote. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? We are now at item 2, section 6.2, section 551.074. A, number 2, personnel matters, to hear a complaint or a charge against an officer or a city employee, city manager. Mr. Lowry, I believe in the back you withdrew this, in lieu of this resignation, you withdrew this complaint. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So we won't, there's no action on this official complaint. Mr. Pritchett is no longer employed by the city of La Marque. Mrs. Amy Miller has been tapped as the deputy, and so for 1 week at least, don't read into that at least. We're just simply saying the council has not made a decision on anything other than we know Amy is our deputy, and for a week we will most certainly do all in our power to support her as she supports the staff, as the staff then in turn supports the great community of La Marque. We have a council meeting next week, and at that time I expect the council will have more discussion on what the next move will be. Having said all of that, if there is nothing further, you have agenda items yet?
Yeah, Mayor, may I request several agenda items?
Absolutely.
To follow up on your point, I would like to go ahead, since we have sufficient time, is to make sure that we include in executive session under section 551.074 personnel matters, the deliberation, to deliberate the appointment, employment, evaluation, reassignment, duties, discipline, or dismissal of a public officer or employee, the city manager.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Second, I would ask our council members to join with me if they so desire, that with the council also authorize a very deep investigation into this whole employment process that occurred, the failures, the weaknesses, what areas of improvement that we need to take as an organization so that this does not happen again. This is not acceptable. That's the second item.
Yes, sir.
And third item, Mayor, I would ask that the council also bring as a discussion and possible action update is to look at our whole human resource manual, the process, administrative complaints, the whole manner and of that as well, so that we can take a deep dive into that area as well.
Very good. I see, so that we're clear with Ms. Nance, I see an executive session next meeting on the position of city manager, yes? Is that, Joe?
Yes, sir.
Number two, a deep investigation into this. Did you say the process, or did you say this?
Well, this hiring process.
The hiring process of
associated
Mr.
with
Pritchett?
this,
Okay. Okay.
Mr. Pritchett, and going forward as well too, right?
Yeah, how we can.
can we improve it? What
Gotcha.
improvements we have to
Did you
make?
get that, Ms. Nance? And third, it's a discussion, possible action on the employee handbook
The
that we-
updated HR procedures.
and the HR procedures. Okay. You got all those? Very good. Anyone else?
And add to that, the
Ms.
company
Yancey.
vetting, the companies that were hired. to
The
vet-
companies that we used.
That we used to verify.
To verify.
Verification.
All the information provided.
Very
from
good.
them, yeah.
Because we may have some,
Yes, and I would
Causes
say,
it. yeah.
we've heard y'all, let's not
Okay.
discuss it
Yes,
amongst
Yeah,
ourselves.
absolutely. Anyone else as far as agenda items? Thank you, Council. There are four. Did you get Ms. Yancey's, Ms. Nance? All right. There's nothing further. We will, wrong agenda item.
Mayor, I do have one.
Yes, sir.
One last, this is just a personal privilege. At this time, too, we have many brothers and sisters that have been impacted by the flooding in central Texas, working with the Kemah Police Department. All of our different communities have come together, Texas City, Hitchcock, La Marque, Dickinson, in an effort to collect a list of supplies that are being sought by the community. There will be an 18-wheeler going out hopefully Wednesday in the evening when that's full. I know when I left earlier, it was a quarter full. And so the drop-off is there. And also, Chief Merriman, I think we're accepting them at our local departments as well, too, at the central station. And we'll get them over there as well, too. So please, the prayer for the
Very
families
good.
there.
I think you speak for the entire council on that one, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. Anyone else? Very good. We will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. We stand adjourned for our
Oh, another meeting.
4 o'clock meeting, and guess what? We are not done.
I was about to leave.
The committee, as of right now, do y'all want to sit with the committee here? Do y'all want to stay in y'all space?
We'll just stay here and let, there are 3 mics, yeah, because we'll all have 3 mics and 15 people, so.
Okay.
So we'll stay here, that way everyone will be able to speak. Committee members, if you are on the Public Safety Building Committee, you may come forward. We have a table for you to join. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I see 1, I see 2, I see 3, 4.
Robert. Robert. Richard. Hey, Lord have mercy.
How you doing, Miss Jackie?
Hey, Jackie.
Probably wants the same thing.
No, 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 no. That's what I'm saying. Well, listen,
All right, we are. Ms. Nance, is your replacement here
Hey,
so that we can move right into this meeting?
you're not paying much.
Are you needed for the meeting? If you want to zoom in, and listen, that would be lovely.
Yeah, but y'all-
On the way home. Ma'am, you ready? All right. Good afternoon, everyone. City of La Marque, City Council Special Joint Agenda of July 7th, 2025. Notice is hereby given that the City Council and the Public Safety Building Committee of the City of La Marque, Texas will conduct a special joint meeting on July 7th, 2025, beginning at 4 p.m. In the council chambers at 1109B Bayou Road, La Marque, Texas, as well as via video conference hosted through Zoom. In accordance with Section 551.127B of the Texas Government Code, the presiding officer and the quorum of the La Marque City Council and the Public Safety Committee intend to be and will physically be present at 1109B Bayou Road, La Marque, Texas. This location will be open to the public, and the meeting will be broadcast at this location on Channel 16 and via YouTube. The council will meet for the purpose of considering the following agenda. The meeting has been called to order. Ms. Casey, would you give us a roll call, please?
Yes, Mayor. We'll start with City Council. Councilmember District A is not present. Councilmember District B.
Present.
Councilmember District C.
Present.
Councilmember District D.
Present.
And Mayor.
Present. Thank you, Casey. We were here before, and we had an official invocation and pledge. Let us say that we most certainly endeavor to please God in all of our activities on this council, and we certainly solicit God's grace and His guidance as we deliberate on behalf of the 20+ thousand wonderful people that call this great city home. We did our Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you, Ms. Griffin, earlier. And so we'll move now to our presentations. And item 4.1 is Project Long, Public Safety Building Assessment. Mr. Long, are you here? I see you. welcome. Good to see you again. You may take a seat in front of any microphone in this building. Let the record reflect that Council District A is here.
Yes, sir.
We need you at the microphone, Mr. Long. Oh, you work, okay, okay.
Hello? All right, that works. How's everybody doing?
Great.
Fine, good to see
Okay,
you.
well, Mr. Mayor, Council, it's a pleasure being back here again. Public Safety Committee, hi, welcome back. We brought today, this is really loud. We brought today an updated presentation trying to very quickly capture where we were in the spring of 2022. That's when we were last year. And trying to get everybody up to speed as quickly as possible for the consideration of the calling of the bond in November. So I'm going to take you through this presentation. I have all the previous ones, and I believe they were provided to the city. If you need to reference anything, you can go back and forth. Let's go to the second slide. Go back one, please. Oh, okay, never mind. Yep, sorry, you're good. There you go. Okay, so back in 2022, we did a condition analysis of the building. I think everybody is in general agreement that the police station that we currently have isn't working. There's 55 pages of great reading that you can go and review to get all the salient points about what that really means. We provided the city also a one-page summary, and I don't know if that was provided to anybody, but that was provided maybe a few weeks ago to Kiera. That was a summary of the 55-page analysis, just in the one, a one-pager. Kind of the highlights of that are, you have an existing bank building. It's been renovated a number of times. When we look at does the building work or not, right? That's a really simple statement that has lots of nuance to it. And what we try to do is boil it down to, is the facility satisfying the mission of the department, be that public works, library, whatever, right? And in this case, when we look at, what is the mission of the police, what are they trying to do, does the building meet that current need? And the answer was no, it doesn't. And there's lots of reasons why that's the case. Spatially, it's too small. We have officers in different locations, which makes for a disjointed police force. We don't have a sally port. The evidence room is non-functional. There's all kinds of things that become obvious to us. From a building integrity standpoint, right? That was the big thing that came up in 2022, right? Does the building still stand? Yes, it does. It still stands. Can it be expanded? It could. It'd be very expensive. How do we make it that it functions? Well, we have to change the AC system. So there's a whole system analysis in this report that kind of gets into that nitty-gritty detail. So I will let everybody else go do their homework. You can read that, but that's the report we did. That report also contains a large programming study. How much space do I actually need, right? And what's really important, there's wants and there's need, and those are two very different words. And we want to make sure that both are valid, but they need to be categorized appropriately, right? And so we sat with Chief and his staff over the course of probably 4 or 5 months, going through, what do you want, what do you need, right? What are the minimum requirements that fulfill the mission of the department? And what are the things that you wish you had that really supercharge that, right? What really drives value to the community? And so there are some pretty standard things, right? We need a detention facility because the one we have doesn't meet any kind of standard today. We need a secure sally port, right? We want to make sure that as we're transporting people that are detained, number one, for safety, number two, for the dignity of that person, right? You can't walk them outside. We need an evidence storage facility that meets current standard, right? For all the obvious reasons. But then we get, how many officers do we need? Well, that's a hard question to answer, right? And so we look at statistical analysis of per capita policing. How big is the city of La Marque? What are its peer cities? What is the crime rate? How many uniform officers do we have? And in what divisions are they, right? Do we need 100 CID officers? Probably not. We probably need more patrol officers, right? So we go through and categorize each departmental role. And then we look at growth, right? So part of what a program does is it looks at what do we need in 2022, as it were, and then what is the lifespan of the building? Are we building a 10-year building, a 20-year building, a 50-year building, right? And in most instances, municipalities are going to build a 40 to 50-year building. It needs to last for a very long time. The building you're in right now is a 50-year building, right? 1972-ish, it was renovated, but it's at end of useful life. And so when we look at what's going to happen in La Marque in 2072, right? That's a hard question to answer. But we try to do our best. We look at your statistical growth rate, right? We look at HGAC data. How many people are moving to La Marque? What kind of policing are they expecting? What kind of policing do we need? What are the grants that are out there? Back in 2022, I believe there was a large push, and I forget the names, a rapid response force to put more officers in community policing, right? Well, there was no place to put those 7 officers. What do you do? So a lot of the program focuses on what do I need today, and then what do I need in milestone years? What do I need today plus 5, plus 10? And then ultimately, as you get further and further out, it just gets fuzzier and fuzzier, right? So you do your best to get to that 10-year mark and then have a plan for what to do after that. It might not be a defined plan, but you gotta at least have thought through it, right? At the time, it was a public safety building, which included courts. And so the program also includes, what do we need to have a fully functioning court department in the city of La Marque. So there's a lot of thought put into what is the court facility, how many clerks, how many bailiffs, so that's also in that program. So that happened 3 years ago. Next slide, please. And so part of what we did at the time is we looked at a number of different options. We looked at different sites throughout the city. Can we renovate? Do we build new? One of the very strong topics at the time was, does police belong on the east side or the west side of town? That was one of the things we really worked through, right? Where we ultimately ended up and what we went to pricing on was rebuilding the police department on its existing facility in downtown La Marque as a means of reinforcing the core of the city and its land you already owned, right? And so some of the things we talked about were site constraints. It's a very narrow site. It's right next to downtown, so noise is an issue. There's a daycare, I think it's still there, it's right behind it. You go to the next slide. And so we came up with a couple different options of what could go downtown and how it would all fit. The next slide. So there are 2 different options about how it would fit. We'll just go to the next one. Just kind of fly through these for a second. And then we got into cost, right? What did it cost back in 2022? We were talking about a potential bond referendum that November, and so we needed to get to a number quite quickly. And so we gave a number of different options. There were 5 options that were considered. And when we look at cost, we look at 3 things: hard costs, soft costs, and FF&E costs. So the hard cost is what's the contractor didn't actually go vertical. FF&E is all the furniture fixtures, which in the police station world also includes all your security systems. So that's why that number's a really big number. It's not just the tables and chairs, it's the dispatch system, it's the computer systems, it's the IT systems, which are disproportionately expensive for a police station, as are fire, because fire has the dispatch, the same problem, right? But it's certainly not what you would pay if you were a city hall or an office building. And then we estimated soft costs. So back then, it was about a $15-16 million discussion on what was a 26,000 or so square foot facility, it's actually about 30 at the time. That's a typo, but that's the number we got to. And at the time, I think there were different priorities in the city, and this kind of got put on hold for a hot second. Next slide. So what have we done today, right? I think we came and presented here back in April, maybe give or take. I think we finally got with Kiara and got going only about 3 weeks ago. Understanding that we needed to get to July 7th as quickly as possible, right? So it's a lot of work that's kind of gone into this over the last month of a blitz. We went back and we looked at, do we still believe the program, right? What's the number? So we went back, we took all the court stuff out, as this will be a police station now. And then we went back and looked at our assumptions, and we looked at your growth charts, and lo and behold, you grew in the last 3 years about what we thought in 2022. We felt really good about that. So on the number of new permits and the per cap sales tax increase, the amount of businesses coming to La Marque, it actually was trending in the right direction. That's not to say that it was spot on, but we thought we were going to be over here and we were there. It's close enough, right? It's as good enough as valid as we can get in a very short amount of time. So we felt very confident that the program that we had cooked up was still valid enough for the very quick exercise we need to do right now. Right? Next slide, please. So there's two sites that we were instructed to go consider, right? We have the Public Works Building A site, and we have the Vaucher site. And so what we've done is 2 independent studies on program, site analysis, cost analysis to present to this body today. Next slide. So city engineer provided an analysis, I believe, a month ago or 2, looking at the 2 sites strictly from a civil perspective. And so kind of the takeaways that Attico had presented at the time was that both sites are flat, which was great. But when we look at the base flood elevation, the BFE, the public works facility is below the BFE. Now, BFE is one of those very abstract concepts in design and construction that it's only the wrong answer if something goes wrong, right? It's not one of those things that's set in stone, thou shalt, must, have to, right? This is the recommended height of the building based on the American Society of Civil Engineers, based on code enforcement, et cetera, et cetera. A lot of this has to do with insurance, right? And this is really a question for city insurance, right? So for almost every city facility, thou shalt be 2 foot above BFE. That's how you get your TISCA insurance, right? And so the public works facility actually sits just a hair shy below it. And I can't see the exact numbers. I want to say it's like half a foot, 6 to 8 inches below. So by the letter of the law, does not meet the BFE requirements. If you were asking me to buy this property, I would tell you absolutely not, don't do that. I have no way to raise a building. But you could, and there's ways to mitigate that if you so chose to do so. The Vaucher site sits well above, it sits at BFE. It sits at 13, and it's high enough to be at BFE without any more fill. So if you're looking at dirt cost, Vaucher actually kind of works, right? We don't need to go bring in a whole bunch of fill to make this site sit above its current location's benchmark flood elevation. So,
I'm sorry, what site is this?
The Vaucher site,
Vaucher,
the school site.
West Lawn.
And,
Okay.
Sorry.
and Mr. Long, what were you saying about it?
That the site as it currently exists today would not need any additional fill to raise it out of the flood.
The Vaucher site won't need any additional.
Nope, it's good. It's good
Just
as
trying to
is.
make sure we all.
Yeah. Now, that's not to say, from a safety perspective, you might want to raise the building, but
Yeah.
that's a different discussion than flood, right? So,
Right.
But you do know that area flooded. It flooded my home.
100%. So BFE is an abstract thing. We can go with the numbers we get. There's some finesse to this. So, because you brought this up, Mr. Compound, we always recommend elevating public safety buildings. It's the easiest way to protect the building against vehicle attack without bollards. So you put the building up 30 inches on fill, right? And it raises it out of the floodplain even further, but it also gives you a natural barrier for somebody trying to drive into the building. So to your point, yes, it has flooded before. We would always recommend lifting it even higher. To what the mayor alluded to, and we're seeing in Kerrville, flooding's real, right? My house that I live in, I can pretty much walk down the street and I can see the Addicks Reservoir. We got 8 feet of water in 8 hours during Harvey. I get it, I lived that life. I would not want to wish that on anybody. So as we talk about public safety, rapid response, and a critical facility, you want it in the absolute safest site possible where you're not fighting nature to the extent that you can, understanding you're in a flat city by the coast, right? Next slide, please. So on the public works site, we've got a building that's about 25,000 square feet. When we look at the site, one of the big site drivers is secure parking. And one of the things that the city's done in the 3 years since we've done this assessment is fenced in that kind of side area of police today with a steel post fence. Most new police stations that we're involved in, you put officer parking in the back where it's even more protected. You typically use an opaque wall. City of Texas City and Webster do this. So you can't see in. And part of this is protecting the assets, protecting the officers. It's also protecting the civilian workforce that's there. If you work dispatch on a 12-hour shift and you're getting off at 9 p.m., like, don't want you walking through a parking lot to the extent that you can avoid it, right? And so when we look at the site and how we get in and out, we can't really make the site bigger because the site is rather constrained. You can't go any further afar. It's a shared parking lot with the other public works buildings, so there's not a really good way to create secure parking without buying more land adjacent to it. You just can't do it, right? And as you can see with the current police department, I just drove by and I want to say there's 20 cars that are parked out there, just officer squad cars that are there. In addition to being your evidence storage, which isn't ideal, but it's what you have today, right? So there are some real site considerations for the public works building that without purchasing more land, which becomes counterintuitive, doesn't really work for the current program we're looking for. You go to the next slide. The upside is that the program fits. We can get all the stuff in the box, right? So if you've ever played the little Tetris game where you try to get all the things put out, like it fits. We can make it work. The upside is that you've got a slab. It's there. You could go do this. There are some real considerations to how this happens though. Police stations by definition like to be big squares that are 1 story tall. And when you think about it intuitively, it's all about getting officers back out on the street. Get them out, get them out, get them out. So if you're a patrol officer, you pick somebody up, you gotta go write a report, you gotta come back and get water or whatever. The name of the game is get in, get out of your vehicle, get what you gotta get back out. So typically patrol is what drives a lot of things, right? You want it as close to the sally port, get in, get out as fast as you can. After that, you typically have CID, administration, but they like to be in a big square because you've got a lot of interaction, you want to be able to walk around. What's difficult about rectangles, and that's something you couldn't do it, you end up with a really inefficient plan because you have things that are really far away from each other by the time you put it in there. Again, this isn't to say that it's not doable. It's not something we would, if we had a flat piece of earth that we hadn't had a building on, you wouldn't do this, but it can be done. The way the building's sited, there's no front door. It's another thing, right? So, in the event that you have public coming into the building, we really have to try hard to figure out how they enter and how they don't get into the secure areas. So again, all this is to say that the program fits. You could do it. It's difficult, but all good things in life are.
I'm sorry, this Public Works building is building A?
Building A.
That was a 2-story.
It has a lot of volume, that's correct. The issue is that putting in the floor beams to get in there is difficult, right? So a pre-engineered metal building is by definition pre-engineered, right? Somebody else did the engineering for this back in the 80s, I think it's about 30 years old. You of course could make it 2 stories. We started with trying to compare apples to apples, right? Can we get it to work? Can we get it to fit on a single story? Yes, you can. If we want to go 2 stories, we got to put an elevator in. We've got to make sure that we have life safety systems. The other really important thing is that in a critical facility, that's a category 1 facility, it's got to survive everything. We have a pre-engineered metal building. It's a storage building. And so to go in there and retrofit it to meet the current design standards is not nothing. We have not done an exhaustive structural review of the building. We just haven't had time to do it. I visited it once 3 years ago, and I'm by no means an expert in the nitty-gritty of how the building currently goes together, but I know that we will have to do work to it to make it resistant to the wind requirements we need to get to. The other thing you have to do is consider, you want a hardened building, which typically means it needs to be level 3 bulletproof. I've got to be able to fire a rifle at it and the bullet can't go through. Right now it's a metal building, right? And so we typically do this with a double wide CMU wall. That wall weighs a lot. It's a heavy piece of wall. And the way these metal buildings are done, the foundation ends at the metal. So you end up making a ring around the building where you're scabbing on a new foundation. Again, it can be done. It is not immediately intuitive that it's going to be easy. To your point, yes, there are certain parcels that are 2 stories. We tried to make it apples to apples as best we could. Next slide, please. And so just the kind of quick summary overview. What's great about the site is you already own it. There's a lot to be said about the land is already yours. And I believe I saw a couple things in your comprehensive plan that might suggest that there might be new development on that corner in the future. And there's something to be said about having a public facility anchoring future beautiful development. There's lots of cities do this. There's a lot to be said for that. Talked about retrofitting a pre-engineered metal building. It is doable. It is not easy, but it is doable. There's another thing to do with the finished floor elevation, right? And so the passive flooding protection becomes a real issue. Whether you deploy flood barriers, you got to put them up. Whether you try to make the building a bathtub, which has its all different set of requirements. Again, it can be done. It's just not easy. It has limited expansion capabilities, right? So we talked about what do I need today versus what do I need in 2040. And so part of what was really tight about building on the existing site and what's really tight about building on this site is that whatever you do, you don't really have a whole lot of wiggle room to move in the future, right? I can't make the building bigger later. You could use a second story, but you've got to go through all that other planning. The cheapest way to future-proof is to just have the land available, right? Don't build white box space today because you're going to spend a whole lot of money on it, and it might sit vacant as really expensive storage space for a decade, right? But if you can think through the planning process, where you do an addition to the building at some future time, you can defer that cost. So that's how we like to think of it. It's very difficult on this site because it's site constrained. It's built out, right? And then it's just about parking. Being able to park the necessary number of parking spaces is challenging on this site without making some sacrifice to other program that shares the site together. Next slide, please. So this is the Vaucher site, right? What's nice about the site is that there's nothing there. That's great. There are some downsides, right? It is in a residential neighborhood, and so there are residences that are directly across the street. So there is some consideration that police stations are by definition very bright and they're kind of noisy. Just facts are facts. And so what we try to do, and I realize that we probably should have provided more context. So Vaucher is on the left, and I don't recall the street to the south that has all the residences on it. Does anybody know that?
Cedar? Are you talking about Cedar?
No,
I don't know. What's the street on the south?
I think it's MacArthur.
MacArthur or one of the Marianne?
No,
The residential street.
MacArthur, that's right, and Lambusi, MacArthur.
Okay, so MacArthur's on the south of this, right? So what we try to do is not have the entrance to the station on MacArthur, right? Don't have the entrance right across from residences. Nobody's gonna like that. So the entrances come in and out of Vaucher, and we put the entrance to the secure lot on the north side, right? So imagine, during an event, during a patrol response car, somebody's going to go out, whoop whoop. They're not doing it on MacArthur. They're going to do it on Vaucher, right? And in denser stations that we've worked on, this is an operational thing. Hey, turn your lights on. Don't turn your siren on until you get to the freeway. This is something that the department can put into their ops, but making sure that to the best we can, we respect the fact that these residents have lived there. We don't go put something that's big and intrusive in their backyard. This site gives us the ability to have, a front door on Vaucher that has dedicated parking, so that if you're there to say hi, take a tour, you have a complaint, whatever, you're not mixing those flows. We take secure parking around the back with a dedicated sally port, so we have layers of security, right? It's an onion. There's not one point of failure. So the site has room for expansion because there's another section behind it that is currently a detention pond that we can work with that gives us the ability to push further back should we need to. The amount of development that we need to make this project work is only about 2/3 of the site. So there's extra site left over. Next slide, please. And so going back to stations want to be big squares, right, in general. It gives us multiple access points secured in the building, right? Square, two sides I can get in. One side is going to be the public entrance, and one side is the quiet side that faces MacArthur. We have room for our jail, for our patrol cars. It functions, and it's a one-story building. So the cost of the building, which is somewhat counterintuitive, is less because I don't have an elevator, I don't have extra stairs, I don't have to put people upstairs, right? This is our first pass at this. If as we move through this, the desire is to have a two-story station, that is, by all means, can be done. We're trying to, as quickly as we can, get to as close as apples to apples as possible. So I just want to disclaim that. Next slide. So, downside is that the city doesn't own it, right? That's, again, a huge downside. Whatever that cost is, which I'm not privy to, has to be negotiated, and it's something that has to be dealt with. It's located in a residential neighborhood. It's just got to be considered, right? What's great is that the site is above the base flood elevation, so you don't own it, but it is a better piece of land. We can do a more optimized layout. We can get all the secure parking we need in one place, and we can expand if we had to, right? Or when we need to, you can expand on that parcel. So, there are pros and cons to both, and ultimately, we've got to make that decision. Next slide, please. So, cost is a big deal, and I wish I had a better answer in the current environment, which I would say is more volatile than it was back in 2022. There are wild price swings in how police stations specifically are constructed and built. And this is a number of factors that go into it, not the least of which is these specialty systems that are required in a police station, right? This is not an office building that police officers just live in. The secure systems, the detention systems are intense. And whereas you are a municipality and you are not obligated to follow the Texas jail standards, we are always recommending of this at the municipal level because it is the best practice. And this was a point of discussion back in 2022 that we still feel very passionate about for the safety of everybody involved in the detention facility itself, right? And so what we did is we pulled comparable stations within the last, I think the oldest one up there might be 8 years old, and then adjusted for inflation on their cost, right, to give us a nice sample size. I will say that we're currently doing a municipal court in the Houston regional area.
Go ahead.
That was weird. It's just a court. It's about 12 to 15,000 square feet. It's almost $600 a square foot, and it's just a court, right? The other big problem we're having as we bid projects today is that, and as an architect, I'm never the GC's best friend, but you have to be fair, you have to be considerate of this, right? The general contractor is pushing sub costs up. Well, if the subs are only willing to guarantee their price for 30 days, there's nothing the GC can do. And that is a risk that has to be absorbed by somebody. And so in a lot of these bids, we're getting bids with massive contingencies on them because subs are only holding prices for 30 days, right? And one of the really difficult things about a bond election is that if you did a bond in November, you wouldn't actually spend that money until next November. You basically lose a year of inflation on the bond. And I don't have a crystal ball. I have no way to tell you what it's going to do in November of 26. So what we try to do is be very fair about what am I recommending to give you the most amount of security in that cost number as you get to a design as quickly as you can in order to buy the building. That's what's informing this number, right? So on the high end, it's like $650 a square foot, right? It's a big number. We were at $425 in 2022. It's a 30% increase. So we go to the next slide, please. So there we go. There's a couple caveats to how we can give you an estimate, right? We know that there will be civil improvements on the public works site because there's some low water areas. We can break up some of that. I don't know how to estimate that just yet, so we just kind of thumb in the wind. This feels right. Known cost for the structural upgrades you would need for a pre-engineered building. We don't do this a lot. It's not something that is a standard practice, right? So without an exhaustive review of the building, I cannot give you with a level of certainty, yes, it's going to be $20 a square foot or $200 a square foot. We just don't know. The structural analysis necessary because every PEMB guy does it differently. It's their proprietary system. You basically have to go in, survey the whole thing, and reverse engineer it to figure out what do you have to do next. So, order of magnitude, let's call it $19 million on the renovation of Building A. It's a lower cost per square foot on the renovation because you have a building. We're assuming the building's good. We're assuming the slab is fine and it's not all cattywampus like.